a lot of times what I feel like is missing is going back to the brand, refining that brand strategy, and then restructuring the business to facilitate what our goals are.
Tell us more about Unique Vision.
Yeah, so Unique Vision, my middle name is Unique. I decided at one point to reclaim the word unique, and now I serve and work with clients, business owners, CEOs, leaders who also feel like they have a very unique point of view.
So when you're dealing with startup, what would be the top 3 things they would need to focus on?
First of all, they really need to focus on their...
What's up, everybody? This is Marcel Clark, and you know this is Hustle and Grow. Today, I have Danielle Unique McEwan in the building. How you doing, Danielle?
I'm doing all right, Marcel. I'm so excited to be able to have this conversation with you.
Yes, I've been looking forward to speaking to you as well. And I mean, you wear so many hats. Like, just tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, sure. So I do wear a lot of hats. I think that we're such dynamic as people, especially African Americans. And I have always felt led to share and to teach and to learn as much as I can to pass that on to someone else. So I am a chief marketing officer consultant, as well as a visionary strategist. And both of those titles and those roles really incorporate the experience and the passion and the purpose that I felt led to do. And so I attended George Mason University. I have a BA in communication, a concentration in public relations, one minor in business management, and one minor in tourism and events management, and a couple of certifications. One specifically is in women's entrepreneurship from Cornell, and a lot of different leadership trainings and business coaching and all of those good things. So that's who I am on paper. And the role that I sit in a lot of people's lives is the encourager, the strategist, the person who really holds their hand as they're walking through different transitions through life and business.
So talk to me about business strategy in earnest, because I think a lot of people don't understand exactly how that plays a role in business.
Yeah. So my specific area of expertise is strategy and being strategic and taking that approach into everything. When we're talking about business strategy, we're talking about being intentional about the components of what you're creating to put together, as well as what you're putting into it from the side of what you want your consumer to experience as far as selling your product or your service. For me, my approach to business strategy is a little bit more organic. And it comes from being raised in upstate New York, having that city life, but also traveling all my life to the country and living internationally and all of these different things. So I've really, from really since I was a child, I started working when I was 13 years old, and people are like, that's illegal. My therapist was like, are you okay? Like, no wonder my therapist is like, no wonder you are burnt out. You've been working for 30 years and you're only 34. So those numbers didn't add up, but you get what I'm saying. And so, yeah, I've been very close to business all of my life, also being raised in the church. So a lot of the soft skills also, and purpose and things like that were always at the forefront of everything that I do. And so when it comes to business strategy and when I partner with clients and when I've worked with jobs before, I've always come in and kind of revamped that to be deeper into the why of the company, into the essence of the target audience they're serving, and into that customer experience. That's how you're able to build a sustainable business. And that is a lot of what I like to do.
So tell us more about Unique VZSN.
Vision.
I like that.
Vision.
Okay, so there you go. Tell us more about Unique Vision.
Yeah. So the story behind Unique Vision, it really started from my relentless pursuit of wanting to disrupt the status quo. As I met people, they are always very intrigued with who I am and how my brain sort of works. You're like, yeah, I got all these extra questions that we didn't practice, because now you're naming all of these other things, and now I'm more curious, right?
Oh, yeah.
I kind of pursued a path of feeling like the black sheep and the unicorn within my family that, like I said, is from the city, but then I was raised in the South. And so when I go to New York and smile at people, they are confused. And they're like, who are you? And so Unique Vision was kind of empowering the isolation and the alienation that I felt a lot as a child with being very different and being kind of very genuine and sincere in my friendships with people and in working for people and really the nature of experiencing like people who weren't raised in that the same kind of way that I was with kind of solid values and beliefs and things like that. My parents have been married for 43 years. And so that really added, I think, to my belief in my value system and how I really connected and built relationships with people. So Unique Vision is kind of like the rebel for the people who are disruptors, innovators, trailblazers, and specifically visionaries. Visionaries often walk a path of feeling very isolated. There's a lot of reasons why we can unpack it. But if you are someone who has broken into industries and broken into entrepreneurial endeavors or broken into working at a 9 to 5, but you come with this different approach and how to get something done, sometimes what's normal in society can cause you to feel by yourself. Yeah, so Unique Vision, my middle name is Unique, and it always was very funny in college. People would be like, "What's your middle name?" And I'm like, "It's Unique." And they would be like, "Okay, well, what's your middle name?" And I'm like, "It's Unique." And I would have to share my driver's license. So I decided at one point to reclaim the word unique and to reclaim the fact that I had a different perspective, hence the vision part. And now I serve and work with clients, business owners, CEOs, leaders who also feel like they have a very unique point of view or way of doing something. And they want or need support with someone to hold their hand so that they're not in that isolating road, in that isolating journey where they are having to choose between their professional career or their personal career. So that's kind of the crux of what we do there, helping to integrate personal life and professional life in supporting ambitious visionary leaders.
So when you're dealing with startups and marketing, like what are like the foundation and focal points of, helping them when they're trying to get out there marketing wise? What would be the top three things they would need to focus on?
First of all, they really need to focus on their brand. So I've kind of spoken to, I did 30 different speaking events, trainings, workshops to business owners here locally and nationally last year. And I did a lot of studying of the ambitious, visionary, and small businesses, medium businesses. And a lot of times what I feel like is missing is going back to the brand, because nobody wants to go back to that brand strategy, refining that brand strategy, and then restructuring the business and the marketing infrastructure to facilitate what our goals are. And so when I talk about going back to brand strategy, a lot of the businesses currently right now, obviously the landscape is evolving, but a lot of businesses are crumbling because they ended up either getting fast success or, they were able to get their success, but there was no sustainability and intentionality in the foundations. Because a lot of what happens in the entrepreneur world and in the small business world is you fall into, you sometimes just fall into being able to solve a problem. And you got to build a team really fast, right? We want to make the money. We focus on all of these other avenues. And so I always take a business owner, no matter small or large, back to the why. Why did we start this business? Let's unpack the problem that we're solving without having services and processes that are band-aiding things that is not fully serving your ideal client avatar. So I do a lot of work going back into the brand story, a lot of work going back into what I call the brand DNA, the brand essence, and going back to really deep diving into market research, competitive research, industry research to really dig deep and get into the mind of that ideal client. So that's one of the first things, going back to the brand. And after you go back to the brand and we know who exactly we're talking to, we need to kind of go back to those offers. We need to figure out the services and the products, and do they truly serve the evolution and how your client has evolved? For example, the consumer is smarter now. Almost every consumer and buyer, they are also their own marketer. They have these entrepreneur endeavors, especially after COVID, right? So they're more in touch with mental, physical, spiritual, emotional well-being. They are taking holistic approaches to their life and their business. They're unwilling to really compromise that professional life anymore. And so have you decided to evolve your business, evolve your marketing, evolve your content with how your client has evolved? And a lot of times the answer is no. A lot of times, whether you're big or small, you have maintained the same ideal client avatar from when you first started. And I don't know if you know, but people change with every experience. Again, especially after like post COVID and things like that, every single experience that people have outside of themselves has the potential to impact and change who they are, how they buy, what they buy, and how they use what they buy. So does your product allow for multi-use, or does it only serve one purpose? A smart consumer isn't necessarily buying things that only serve one purpose now. They're looking at, okay, if I buy this long sleeve black shirt, am I able to wear it, when I'm playing with my kids? Am I also able to wear it when I go into a business meeting, when I'm meeting someone for coffee to talk about, and then how can I maybe accessorize it so that it fits in these different environments? They're just looking for multi-use. So that would be the second thing. Now we need to adjust our marketing strategy and our content strategy and how we show up online and things like that. And then the third thing I'd probably recommend is that we need to rebuild this infrastructure, your marketing infrastructure. So our systems and our processes, when we are from the very first point of when our client comes into contact with us. When I say contact, it isn't hands-on contact. It is, are they seeing you on a billboard? Are they seeing you in a newspaper? Are they seeing you in a magazine? Are your clients reposting, the products they bought for you? Are they seeing you intangibly first? Going back to looking at all of those sources where they're seeing you intangibly first, all the way to the very end of their interaction with you and beyond. So your marketing infrastructure should also not only have a plan for before they come into contact with you, but it should also have a plan after they leave you, because it's less expensive to keep and reactivate the same clients and the same consumers than it is to have to put money into advertising to get new people. So do we still have processes where they stay in our world, in our, what I like to call our world, our business ecosystem? And those are also parts of not only marketing strategy, but going back to your initial question of business strategy as well.
So post
I know that was
COVID, no, that was beautiful. I really appreciate the feedback. So post COVID, how do you feel like that impacted, marketing strategy now moving forward in 2024?
So post-COVID, marketing strategies have changed. Going back to what I said, as far as the consumer is a lot smarter. People have changed. The way that they buy has changed. And so because they are more aware of marketing tactics, right? Because there's a lot of buzzwords in the marketing, business, and entrepreneurship world that that normal consumers use, but they may not understand what the true definition is, but they still use these terms. And sometimes they also research these terms. So you also have a lot of access with free information and free education. We got YouTube, we have all of these videos, we have even email marketing and advertising that is always kind of bringing the knowledge of your consumer up. And so when we're thinking about marketing post-COVID, we have to understand it's a different ball game. Our consumers no longer just want, they're no longer going to give you their personal information in exchange for a checklist or a guide. Right? I can't say, here's 10 things to check off your list to see if you're a good leader or not. Those things have made people multi-million dollars. They really have. Before COVID, they were working, but you can't do things like that. Now you need to exchange actual value, and you need to also give away, a lot of the education and the knowledge that you have invested in yourself. As the expert, we used to be able to gatekeep, if you will. We used to be able to keep all of the juicy stuff as a way to convert our clients into buying with us and just give them our top of the funnel information could be very kind of surface level. Now you need to almost give everything away for free. And the way that people are going to convert is the more that they feel like you are human, the more they're going to buy from you. And a lot of marketers, business owners, et cetera, leaders and things like that, we're reluctant to that. And there's a good reason why. We've invested time, sweat, tears, blood, like our families, we've invested our families, we've compromised and sacrificed so many things. So we are reluctant. And for those who are reluctant, I totally get it. And I do feel for you. Like I do understand, right? Because they didn't have to walk the path that you walked. But if you want to become a smart marketer, you have to figure out what's the balance between not feeling like you're giving everything that you've invested in to people who have not done the same, but what still can you give to them that will position you as an authority, as a thought leader, as someone who is disrupting your industry, who's innovative, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, no, but I think you hit on something that is really like relevant now in 2024 when it relates to like the consumer wanting to know who you are and if you're genuine, right? And when you wrap that around transparency, then when people are looking at doing any kind of business, or if they're thinking about investing in anything that you are doing or buying something from you, or service or product, they're literally drilling down on everything that you are online now, right? Like, so they're going to look at your IG, they're going to look at Facebook, they're going to look at your TikTok. They already have access to this information, So now they're looking to see how consistent and genuine you really are. Like you said, that's a totally different approach, especially like generational wise, right? Like, especially my generation, it's like you said, it was more about, listen, I did it this way. And a lot of people, if they came to me, then, for a consultation fee, I might talk to you about something. I'll give you access to certain my resources. But now, like you said, I mean, a lot of information is already out there. So it's really how we're packaging it, and you have to make sure that you're relaying to them how unique you are now and why they need your service. That's a flip paradigm,
Exactly. And that's why when you asked me earlier about my approach with business strategies and kind of getting these business owners up to speed, the reason that I start with going into the why and the brand essence and into the brain and the movement and actions of the business owner is because of that. People are stalking you now. And also people have gotten burned.
Yeah, they kill it, man. Those scammers mess it up for everybody, because when you're legitimate, then they're looking at you like you said, the neck's all crooked. They're looking at you already, questioning your legitimacy, because like you said, there's so many other people out there. They're just so bad, you know? And
Yeah.
I hate that part of business in general, but you're bringing up a good point. They do have reason to be hesitant.
Yeah. And the business owner that is smart will lead and learn how to empathize with those past unfortunate situations with their clients. I don't know how many clients I've been able to convert, people I've been able to convert into clients for the simple fact that I don't run away from that. I get it.
Yeah.
I empathize there. I hold space for their problems, and I don't use traditional sales tactics. I call it icky sales and kind of that icky marketing. But I don't do that. I lead with my personality and the genuineness and the genuine person that I am that has made up unique vision, and reminding myself of when I felt alienated and isolated, when I was a visionary that was in a small town and, haters for lack of better terms, but when people just didn't get it, they weren't haters. I love them, but it was people who didn't get it. And it was people who didn't love me in the way that I needed to be supported as an entrepreneur, as a visionary in a small town. And so I dive deep. One of my first processes and one of the first steps to working with me, and it's always I've one of my clients has like a multi-million-dollar contract. He's this franchise investor, very popular in Atlanta and things like that. And I know that our first meeting, he didn't expect what it was going to be like, because it was a workshop focused on helping him essentially learn self-awareness for himself and diving into who he was and what he's motivated by and what drives him, and asking him questions about, what does your day-to-day look like? Like, walk me through your lifestyle today. And when I ended up telling him, okay, great. So one of the things that you like to do every day is journal. Yeah, we're using that in content. And he's like, wait, what? No, no. Like, you like, girl, you are not about to have me sit up a camera and be journaling on camera and us using that as marketing content. However, you know, um, one of my strengths is people automatically feel like they could trust me and they respect me and things like that. And so he knew that if he did go with what I was recommending, it would turn out into success. And it did for him. And a lot of the process, one of the ways he was able to be successful beyond me is more so the coaching and the consulting side outside of the marketing. So my process with my visionary strategy side of things, where it's coupled with my hybrid approach, is coaching, consulting, and strategy, because it was able to help him disarm himself. And with my clients, they're able to disarm themselves. They're able to feel like, wow, this is such a safe space. Like, I've never had this before. And then they are comfortable and safe enough to be authentic. So now we get to get into the nitty-gritty problems, right? Now I get to talk about why you are feeling like, you're wanting to go into 6 and 7 figures, but you are stifled in your growth. It's a you problem, your leadership. But we have to be able to build that trust and that relationship first. Another one of my clients came to me, and it was a fractional CMO client. So specifically, it was for marketing. And a lot of people come to me specifically for marketing, but they stay with me because of the love. And they love the marketing. But at the end of the day, they're like, girl, the marketing is great, but I just need you in my world, because you make me better. You make me more visible. You make me more profitable. You allow me to have the confidence that I need and the clarity and the direction that I need in order to show up in front of this camera, and I can't stand this camera. And so, it ends up lasting with them for a lot longer of a time. But she came to me needing a fractional CMO. She needed someone to bridge the gap between her team, because they weren't performing in the way she needed them to perform, and someone to still understand her vision. So someone that could allow her the space to just be in visionary heaven, where she's saying, this idea, this business idea, this, I want to do this, I want to do this. And someone who could be able to bring the pieces together, make them fit, but also tell her, hey, this is the priority list. Your team can't do what you want. They can eventually, potentially, but right now they can't. So she respected me enough to kind of I don't want to say reel in the visionary part of her, because that's not what we do. I hone in, and I make a visionary more impactful by making them more intentional and helping them set goals that are more achievable and measurable in that way. And then I also, though, when it comes to a team, they're able to have a safe space and a listening ear where they feel like, okay, the business owner has been telling me, do this, do this, do this, do this. And oh my gosh, I'm anxious, I'm this, I'm that. And I'm able to calm them. Like, hey, you were hired for a reason. This is what the client saw in you. This is why you're here. This is your zone of genius. So hold on, breathe, and let's put a plan together that you can follow, and also teach you how to communicate effectively to your boss. Because that's also the problem. A lot of people who can be ambitious, and a lot of the team members, they don't want to disappoint the visionary. And it's okay. But without clear communication, a visionary can't be great. If you're always like, yeah, I understand, but then you are not performing and accomplishing the tasks that your boss is telling you, then you're ineffective. And it comes off as incompetence. And then your boss is going to be like, look, I don't have the time. We're firing and we're finding somebody else. So that is a lot of like where I'm able to come in, and really the synergy between Unique Vision, which is my creative marketing house, and In My Rarest Form, which is my elevated wellness brand, bringing the two together to create this powerhouse world of, where I am right now.
So you're around a lot of leaders. So do all of my young leaders a favor right now. Tell us, when you're around leaders in leadership, what are the top 3 characteristics and traits you see in successful leaders?
Successful leaders have a routine. I know you can Google that and you'll see it everywhere. And it starts at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning, and it ends late, and all those things. Successful leaders have a routine and they have habits. I'm going to go with the good side of this. And so as a successful, ambitious visionary, each hour of your day is kind of assigned to something specifically. And you don't have time to wait, because time is money. They also perceive time as money. And so if you go to a successful leader, they may be able to tell you, hey, 5 minutes of my time costs X amount of money. And so because of that understanding and that mentality, they don't waste time. They are very intentional about the time that they use, which makes them more productive, makes them more effective, and more efficient in being able to get things done. And that's very important. And they have certain habits. So a lot of leaders as well, they have habits that are, I come in and I disrupt the habits. So I'm figuring out this side to share with you about it. But they have certain habits like getting in the gym, drinking a certain amount of water. Sometimes they don't even drink. They have discipline. That's really the part. So it's a lot of self-discipline. I would say that that's number 2, right? They are very mentally strong, and they work on becoming and being mentally strong, which means that they can stay like this when a lot of things are like this. And it allows them to be able to invest and take bigger risks in business. So you see a lot of successful leaders having those habits, sticking to those habits like it is a Bible, right? And then I would say a lot of successful leaders as well, they are action takers. Oh my gosh. They they don't wait.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I said, I hope my audience is getting this, because that third one is powerhouse right there.
That third one is crazy.
Yes.
They and that's why I was trying to figure out what to exactly call it. Sometimes I call it risk takers, sometimes I call it action takers, but they are doers, they move. Okay. They will have a half-brained idea and move on it. It's a team in place, the money's behind it, the course is made. I mean, the sales funnel is built. It could be half-baked.
You can know it's so true, because I've been in so many situations where I'm literally building the plane while we're in the air. You know, because this is just like you said, when you feel like you have an idea, you like, let's get on it, you know, and sometimes you can't wait for every perfect variable to be in place. If you have the nuts and bolts and the wheels are on it, let's get it up in the air. And a lot of times that pressure actually can create something really beautiful, because everybody knows, all right, like you said, time is of the essence. We need to get this done now. It's so, like you said, I mean, it's all about action. We can't really deal with procrastinators. You know,
Yeah.
It's actually pretty annoying, you know, because you're just kind of like, when are you going to get to it? You know, like, get after it and figure it out. Don't sit there all day just looking at the runway. You know, what you going to do? At some point, you got to make the move, right? So I agree with you on that, on all three of yours, actually. Really great points, Unique. Hey, question. So let's shift to branding. I mean, let's shift to, I'm shift to branding real quick, because I had something on mental wellness, but branding. What's the difference, in your opinion, between a strong brand that's successful long term and brands that basically sputter out over time? There's like, what's your top three on that? Like, why do you think that happens?
Yeah. So that's two questions. I'll answer the qualities and characteristics that I see in a strong brand, and then I'll answer your question about why do brands not last long? Or that's what I heard anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. Why don't they last? Yeah, no longevity.
A strong brand, number one, evokes feelings and emotions. A strong brand is going to make you feel so compelled to interact with them that you have no choice but to buy or either hang on their every word, right? So a strong brand is going to look like, no matter how the business pivots or shifts or transforms, the brand can outlast the business. Have you ever seen anybody in your industry or in your space and they shift industries? I mean, like, you know, like we playing Uno or spades or something, like you dealing cards, they will shift, but their people gonna buy every single thing they drop. It might not even make sense with the brand or the business. Because I know you don't see them people and you be like, all right, now listen, now
Yeah.
come on, this don't even make sense. And y'all eating this up?
Yeah, listen, that's applicable to Shaquille O'Neal, and that's applicable to Snoop. And they're two perfect examples of how they basically can cross all spectrums of advertising. And you can see Shaquille doing anything from a freaking insurance commercial to Zoom. And you like, it fits. Like, you just roll with it because it's Shaquille and he's so likable, you know, and you just really go, if he on it, I'm on it, right? I definitely agree with you on that.
You bringing up those two brings me to number three. The second one, a strong brand has a strong story. And you triggered my brain to remembering at the Olympics, who's the faces you saw all at the Olympics? Not Shaquille, Snoop Dogg and Flavor Flav. So we're going to talk about Flavor Flav for a minute.
Yeah, let's talk about Flavor Flav.
Because you wouldn't even think Flavor Flav is a brand, right?
No, well, if you follow him, like you said, if you're locked into him, fine. But you really just, the Olympics, that came out of left field for me. I was like, is that Flav?
Yeah.
It came out of left field, but he was everywhere.
Yes, he was.
And the thing that I feel is strong about kind of what he did is the fact that it was left field. We always like, what is you doing at the Olympics, sir? But this is immediately personally where my mind went next. I remember the feeling I had when his Flavor of Love came out, when his reality show came out. And I remember laughing at him when he was all over everywhere, because that show was very popular. And then I started remembering like the names of the girls that he dated and the crazy things that he did, and all of some of those women who have gone on to create these other strong brands off of leveraging being a part of his reality show. Then if I talk about Flavor Flav with my parents, they have their own connection to him. So generationally,
No. He's
that's the
crossed
thing
over.
that I feel like was so.
He's crossed all the lexicons, and then it goes back into what you're saying about just trusting him as a person too, because what he did with Jordan Childs and that whole Olympic medal controversy, and then he gave her that medal that his company created with the clock on it. That's something that happens and you go, well, that's really cool, bro. It'll never replace an Olympic medal. But the fact that him and his brand, they decided, hey man, let's do something for this girl that we don't need to do. That's why he's enduring. And like you said, he goes across all the spectrums when it comes to age, generational awareness and everything. So I mean, perfect example of great branding across the board. I like that. Good one, Unique.
And you brought up something that's going to give me number 3, and I'm going to go back to Flav for a second, but then we're going to enter into number 3, strong values, leading with values. A strong brand leads with values. Okay. And I'm going to just hop back to number 2 with Flavor Flav having a strong brand really quickly. I don't know if you heard this story, but someone was sharing with me, and I believe it was it's like the sailing team. I don't know what this specific sport is called. However, the Olympians actually don't get paid a ton of money. I didn't know that until this past Olympics. They do not get paid. And the rowing team, that's what it was. The rowing team had gotten underfunded or something like that. They weren't going to be able to go to the Olympics. Flavor Flav has been sponsoring them for an entire year. The only reason we had a US team at the rowing competition and participating was because he sponsored them. They didn't have any money and nobody wanted to sponsor them. That is, again, very telling of his heart, his values, and him just being authentic, because you never saw him once in an interview talking about that. I think it was like a if you know thing. And then obviously the Jordan Childs things just couples onto that. So a strong brand has a story. And then number 3, a strong brand leads with values. So my specific area of expertise is helping purpose-driven, impact-driven, and mission-driven brands. So that looks like a lot of nonprofit organizations, or it can be for profit as well, but just people who want to have a higher, that believe there's a higher impact in the world, in the products and the people that they're serving. That's one of the qualifications for working with me. And when we talk about purpose-driven brands, a lot of the definition is you're value forward. You lead with your values. And everyone probably won't agree that number 3 is that you need to have strong values. But to me, especially as we're having a conversation about business strategy, marketing strategy post-COVID, people are so much more in touch with their mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional well-being. And they are learning more about wellness. We see the trends, we see the industry. It's safe now in a lot of different cultures to have conversations about mental health and things like that. And leading with your values represents who you are as a brand, and it speaks for you before your before your brand even comes into anybody's world. And if you can restructure and rebrand your business, or just reimagine your business with infusing and integrating your values from the very first beginning of the brand to after a client leaves from you, that evokes emotions, evokes feelings. That allows for you to tell stories, powerful stories about uh, just your journey in general at large as an independent business owner, but then also as the business that you've served. And those are the things that people connect with. That is how people build a relationship with you. And that's how we turn just a consumer into a raving fan of yours that that ends up, excuse me, allowing you to have the effect that we were talking about earlier, where no matter if you change the business, the brand outlasts the business. If
Wow.
you can restructure things to lead with those values, you can build a sustainable business with a really powerful and powerhouse brand. And that's what we really specialize in at Unique Vision.
Wow. Danielle, that was a master class. We're with this show. Listen, I get a lot of great guests, but you're definitely at the top of the pyramid. Hey, we're gonna close out on mental health and awareness and that part of your brand. Like, talk to me about that, because now, your timing couldn't be any better. It's really all about mental health now. People are really taking it a lot more seriously. I think, would you contribute that again as something that was affiliated with COVID?
I believe that the acknowledgement of mental health before COVID was becoming a lot more potent in different circles. However, COVID humbled a lot of people. That's how I say that. And obviously, it's a tragedy for all of us. I had people that I lost in COVID and had to grieve while all of these different things were going on. But if anything came out of it, it was almost as though the world was like had been sick for so long anyways. There was no love, no unity. It was very divisive, very selfish, very self-centered. We were operating in the conditioning that we have, that really is a lot of the systems in this world and what this country kind of was built on. And I think COVID, because it was such a mass spread, it allowed people to become a bit more humble no matter what level you were on, because it hit you. It hit you and it did not have a face. And people had to start, it was a lot of people's breaking points. It was a lot of people's breaking points, and it broke them so much that they weren't able to get themselves out of that space if they didn't address and acknowledge their mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional well-being. It also created this awareness of all of these things that we'd been holding in, numbing out, ignoring, that had been burdening, weighing us down, and all of these different things that we didn't see. That being busy and being a doer and an action taker and rushing and all of these other things, that you don't feel the effects of those things because you're never taking time to stop, be still, and be quiet. And we don't live in a country that really facilitates that, being in the United States. A lot of other countries, they do. Slow life, being intentional, being present, and enjoying the food you're eating as you're eating it is very important in a lot of other kind of cultures and things like that. In America, we had to drive through. We moving and stuff like that. And COVID slowed people down and forced a lot of people to stop. And I'll add this part to it too. So I was a VP of sales in Dominican Republic years ago. That was one of my jobs. And so I lived in Dominican Republic. And one of my biggest lessons, there was a lot of things, and I worked in the hospitality industry at a 5-star resort on the north coast of Dominican Republic. One of my biggest takeaways in that time was that here in the US, we live to work. Over in Dominican Republic, they work in order to live life. These people got paid $2.50 an hour, and their days were anywhere from 12 to 16 hours. It is a third world country, poverty. And my team members, and the people that I was managing and the people that I was meet, they had such a beautiful essence and aura and energy that you would just be like, how? And when they would get off of work, they're going to the beach. They get in a beer and they go into the beach, or they're going to somebody's house and the family is barbecuing. And I'm talking like 12 a.m., 2 a.m. And then they got to be to work at 6 and 7. And living in that slow paced world, when I moved back to this country, I was like, God, I never, ever want to forget this. I do not want to become a robot again. I do not want to be automated. And that's the perspective I've had. And when I moved back into this country, I actually quit working. I did not go back to corporate world for like a year and a half, 2 years. I was like, oh no, I'm about to let God get to me because there's something deeper. Why are these people like this? There's something deeper. And I wanted to be able to memorialize that feeling and bring that back to this country. So everybody that I touch that comes into my presence, they're able to see the benefit and the beauty in becoming yourself in your rarest form first, and then all the other things can come after that. So that was a long, those 2 years, it was a lot of deep work and things that I did. But again, Unique Vision and In My Rarest Form is a combination of all of that life I lived during that time as well. And so now I pass those on to others. And a lot of those things help you leverage self-mastery, self-awareness. And these are the things that you need in order to be great at marketing and and build a sustainable business nowadays. You got to come back into yourself. You have to return home. And if you do the work to help you return home internally, then everything externally just start to come in, and it's so much easier, and not easier, but it's just more, it's driven by purpose. And so the way that you handle it and you interact it and the way that you show up and you navigate this world is different. And you'll start seeing that. It's a trickle effect, right? Your leadership changes. So the people you lead changes. So the life you live changes. So your business changes. And that is essentially the foundation of what I've built.
Danielle, no, I mean, I think that was a great answer. And a lot of times, like you said, when you're born in this capitalistic society where everybody really always feels like you always have to be paper chasing, you always have to be, up to what's next, this career ladder and corporate America and moving, la, la, la. And a lot of times, when you're born in this space and it's all about money, power, everything that comes along with being American, right? It's like a lot of people don't really understand that there's a whole different aspect of life that if you really, really focus in on it, you can at least have quality. So one last question to close it out. What if you had to give one piece of advice when it comes to mental health awareness? What's the number one thing you think a person should focus on to keep their mental health in a good space?
So in order to keep your mental health in a good space, again, I just kind of touched on it, but you need to return home.
Yeah.
You have to return home. You have to develop the mental toughness and of being able to realize that if you can find your footing and your power within yourself, everything else doesn't really matter after that.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So you are your own anchor. If you can create yourself to be your own anchor, then the way that mental health kind of comes into your world, it looks a bit different, and how you handle it is a bit different. And me saying that to clear it up, I'm not saying that the mental health struggles and challenges will disappear. I'm saying that you might start finding more courage to communicate about it. You will start being able to have relationships, healthier relationships with people, because you've now taken ownership and acceptance of where you are, who you are, what is happening to you, what you care about, and all of these other things. And now people might leave, and that's okay. but now you'll start attracting the people who can adequately support you in the way that you need. You know, I think one thing that we do in America is we kind of double down on the issues that we have, right? So sometimes if we're dealing with things or we're struggling, especially as ambitious visionaries and leaders in this world, you don't tell anybody your problems for real, right? You're taught to suck it up. And I'm going to also give this lens from being African American, because that's been my experience. But in my experience working with a bunch of different, like from all backgrounds of leaders, you don't tell people these problems. You don't tell people when you're grieving. You don't tell people when you're having to tell your family, like, no, I can't go. I can't go. You take it to the chin. You're like, I can't go because business is important. But silently in the back of your mind, you're crying, like you're crumbling. You're like, dang, I'm missing out. Or like I'm contributing to the dissipation of my marriage or my relationship, or I'm missing out on my kids, or like, dang, I miss my grandma type of thing. You're telling your team, like, we got to get this done. We got to get this done. But at the same time, in the back of your head, you know that you didn't fully think out or flush out how you were going to bring this vision to fruition. But you're not going to tell nobody that. You just going to stand on business, right? And so if we can just face ourselves, if we can go to a mirror, and I always recommend this to people, to start with like mirror work. Because if you can go to a mirror and you can look yourself in the eyes for about 10 minutes, you're going to discover a lot of things that you may have not processed. And if you can find the courage, because it requires courage to go that deep. If you can find the courage to be honest with yourself, to be transparent with yourself, to take accountability, to take ownership, it is going to alleviate so many of the mental health burdens, and emotional and mental and spiritual and physical as well. It'll start unveiling some of these additional things that are contributing to you being stifled and growing in all of these different ways. And so that would be my first thing, like return home, do the work to return home and learn how to develop self-trust. Because a lot of how we're interacting with people, it's from a place of like, we don't really trust ourselves. And as ambitious visionaries, a lot of times too, there's a lot of failure. There's a lot of failure that comes in entrepreneurship. And whether we call it failure or not, which I try not to do, I look at everything as like a learning lesson. But essentially, it's a lot of downs. It's a lot of pitching. It's a lot of downs. It's a lot of people not coming through, not living up to your expectations, et cetera, et cetera. And so it can subconsciously make you to stop trusting yourself. And even though you're moving forward, you're not moving forward. And you're not experiencing that wholeness and that fulfillment that you're really chasing more than the money and stuff, right? So start trusting yourself, have those hard conversations, find the courage to take accountability and ownership and responsibility for things so that you can disrupt all of that and now start building from a solid place, which starts with yourself. And it starts with you being able to have leadership over yourself. Then it moves to you being able to have leadership over your business, then leadership of your team, and then leadership of your life in general. And things will start shifting for you. And you'll be surprised because now we start hitting these goals and things like that, these aspirations, and even your goals and aspirations shift. So also being open to allowing yourself to evolve, that's another route of helping alleviate this mental health, as well as just the work we do with Unique Vision. It's developing this embrace and acceptance of evolving as a part of your journey in life. And the reason that's powerful is because you start giving yourself grace. The New York talk about that is give yourself grace. Stop it. Stop putting all that pressure on yourself. Give yourself grace. And as you start being able to give yourself grace and learning how to give grace to other people, because you can't if you can't do it to yourself, you're not giving it to other people. That's love, that's grace, that's compassion, that's empathy, that's any of those things, right? So yeah, start integrating some of those things into your life, and your mental well-being will shift.
I love it, Danielle. Like you said, no losses, just lessons, right? And those are some powerful information that you did share with my viewers. Hey, listen, tell us where we can find you. So when they hear all of your beautiful words, they're gonna definitely want to find you. Tell us where to find you.
Yeah, of course. So you can visit my website at www.uniquevzsn.com. Or if you really love this podcast, send us an email. I would love to know what your takeaways are. I would love to know what felt valuable to you. And that is at Danielle@uniquevision.com. And follow us on Instagram at Danielle Unique. So slide in the DMs. My DMs are always open. I love having powerful conversations like this. Love being able to unpack some of these qualities and characteristics and personality traits with you along your journey and be of support. So yeah, catch us.
So look, that's Danielle Unique McEwen over there. And listen, remember, hit that like button because we need more guests like Danielle. And remember, if hustling's in your DNA, ride with me and watch us grow.